Grief and fury in Pakistan over the assassination of the opposition leader Benazir Bhutto. Just over a week before the country's elections, she was attending a political rally when her killer struck. The last image of her alive shows her waving to supporters from her car before she was shot in the neck. The gunman then blew himself up. At least 20 other people are dead. Grief-stricken supporters bore her coffin. Political leaders from around the world have united against the killing.
The United States strongly condemns this cowardly act by murderous extremists.
Benazir Bhutto may have been killed by terrorists, but the terrorists must not be allowed to kill democracy in Pakistan.
We'll bring you the very latest live from Pakistan. Our other top story tonight: a 7-year-old girl has died after the quad bike she was riding was hit head-on by a car. Good evening. The body of Benazir Bhutto, the Pakistani opposition leader, is being taken back to her hometown tonight, hours after she was assassinated. She'd been addressing a rally in the city of Rawalpindi when she was shot by a gunman who then detonated a bomb which killed at least 20 people. With over a week to go before the country's elections, President Musharraf has appealed to the nation to remain peaceful, but there are fears now of widespread violence and unrest. Our correspondent Barbara Plett is in Islamabad. Barbara.
Yes, there have been angry demonstrations in a number of cities here, which turned particularly violent in Karachi. These were the initial reactions to the news that Benazir Bhutto had been assassinated, something that has really shocked the country, even though she had been targeted by a suicide bomber before. This is how events developed. In just a simple wooden coffin, leaving the hospital where she died, the body of Benazir Bhutto was borne by mourners. They reached out to touch it, pushing, jostling for final contact with their leader. Just that morning, she'd been carrying their hopes for an election victory on the campaign trail in Rawalpindi, promising voters that she'd bring Pakistan out of crisis. After years in self-imposed exile, Ms. Bhutto was determined to make a political comeback. As she left the rally, she continued to greet party workers before getting into the car. But in what turned out to be her last moments, she couldn't resist standing up through the sunroof to again wave to supporters. It was a fatal decision. Police said a gunman seized this opportunity to shoot her and then blew himself up. The explosion threw party workers into panic and confusion. Overcome with shock and horror, they struggled to take in what had happened, eventually giving in to both grief and anger. Rescue services worked feverishly to save the injured and to move the dying. But emergency surgery could not save Benazir Bhutto. It was devastating news for her people. The party revolved around her. Sobering news also for her political opponents. The other main opposition leader came quickly to pay his respects. He now says his party will boycott elections, which he claims will be rigged.
In the history of this country. Something unthinkable has happened.
Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto, ek zalim.
President Musharraf too condemned the attack. In an address to the nation, he appealed for calm. But on the streets there was violence. Several people were killed by gunfire. Furious protesters set fire to banners, vehicles, even buildings.
People of Pakistan are very sad. People's Party chairperson has sacrificed his own life for the people of Pakistan, for the democracy of Pakistan.
The situation is volatile. Extra troops have been deployed as Pakistanis wait to see what this means for elections and for their country. The next 24 hours will probably be critical as to how things develop. The president, as well as party leaders, have appealed for calm. They've also called for a period of mourning, in part to diffuse the tensions. But this assassination has really shaken the Pakistani political scene, and it has made Pakistanis more uncertain and afraid for the future. Fiona?
Barbara, thank you. Well, the attack has been widely condemned by the international community. President Bush described it as a cowardly act. And here Gordon Brown said Benazir Bhutto had risked everything to win democracy in Pakistan. As our special correspondent Gavin Hewitt reports, Ms Bhutto was a charismatic and controversial figure, part of a political dynasty in Pakistan. To many an icon, to others tainted by corruption.